Everyone's welcome. And that's it.
C'est déjà bien.
Oh. Okay, tonight I want to make this evening three things. I'm going to introduce the Project Anarchy for those who don't know what it is. I'm going to run a demo together, which is the whole point of tonight's talk, is actually how to use Project Anarchy to quickly prototype a game, get it on your Android device, and actually see how well it works with the minimal amount of code and the minimal amount of work. And hopefully, I won't take up the full 90 minutes doing this. So at the end of it, we'll do some cool stuff, maybe do questions and answers, and just show them general chat, and see what happens the rest of the evening. Is everyone good with that? Okay. So, introduce myself. I'm Stuart Johnson, if you know that. I've actually been a games programmer for 35 years, would you believe? I started out on things like that. Assembly programmed for nearly 20 years of my life. Firing queues at full stops, trying to make games with 1K of memory. But I moved on. And this is just some of the lads I've worked with in my time, some of the games I've written, some of the companies I've actually been lead programmer with. So, okay, enough of myself. So, heure, avec. Effectively, I don't know. We're a middleware leader. We've been producing middleware software since 1998. We're well known probably by all of you for our physics and other products that we do. The avec brand actually covers all platforms. We're fully cross-platform specific, everything from PlayStation 4, that's Xbox One, right down to the iOS and the Android devices. So as you can see, we shipped over 500 titles, 400 of them just using our physics alone. And we're a worldwide company, we support game studios throughout the entire world. So, give an idea of the timeline, I won't bore you too much, but you can see we start with the physics, and our other products have sort of grown through time, right up to the vision engine, and this is partly, basically what the whole Anarchy system is based on. So what is Project Anarchy? Complete game system, effectively free to deploy, free to publish on iOS, Android, ARM, and Android x86, and the new Tizen system that we're working closely with Samsung with. So what do you actually get in your bundle? avec physics, we discussed that. This is the same avec physics that's been developed since 1998 and is used in games such as Halo 4, Skyrim, Assassin's Creed. It supports all ragdoll systems, it's fully threaded, fully conformative, used by AAA studios the world over. avec AI is basically a pathfinding system that allows you very fast path queries to get characters, to get your NPCs from one place to another. All your local steering support, so characters can self-autonomously walk through spinning objects, move from one place to another without too much code interference. Again, used by wonderful games, Little Planet Party, Sleeping Dogs. And the Animation Studio. This is a full animation authoring system. Not only the animation controls, so the core animation system which handles blending, multiple skeletal blending, dissimilar skeletal blending, full parametric blending controls, but also the ability to author and create all your state machines and all your blending nodes. Anyone who's written a game, anyone who's actually put the main player control in, and has that put all the time making the player work, blend, foot registration, all the state machines, dying, climbing, jumping, dropping. Notice how much work there's actually coding that in. This is a fully GUI system that allows you to develop and produce all that outside of your game and in a system that once it's running in your game can actually debug and visualize what is going on in your game. So it's, for anyone who's done it before, this makes your life so much easier. And ultimately the vision engine, that's what we all want, it's the 3D part. So, the Vision Engine is effectively an API. It's a full C++ API and the WYSIWYG editor. The editor is written in C#.net, but it uses the API as its core. Framework is fully flexible, so if you want to create your own plugin code, to actually create your own modules, create your own game code, you actually write it, it absorbs into the editor. So when you're actually in the editor, you're actually using the same game code that you're actually going to be compiling into your final product. So you can test your game within the editor, knowing you're using the same code that the game is going to be using. And the key thing, what we're going to look at tonight, fast iteration. That's the very, very important part. We'll get to that one in a minute. Tools. You get loads of tools as well. Visual debugger. This is the wonderful thing. I'll actually show you this in a minute. This actually allows you to visualize all the maths that's going on in your game. It doesn't show you graphics, it shows you physics, it shows you AI paths, it shows forces, it shows collision volumes. All the physics, all the numbers, all the stuff that's actually running under the bonnet can be visualized, manipulated in a two-way interface. So on one side you have your game with all your lovely graphics, and on the other side you can visualize the actual numbers as they're happening in real time. Sorry. Script debugger, this is a standalone tool. We'll touch on this. Whilst I say this whole system is C++ derivative, we also support a Lua scripting system. So if you want to generate any small game code that's in Lua, you can actually write the whole game in Lua if you want. But this allows you dynamic remote debugging of the Lua system that's actually running in your game on your target platform. Animation Studio, we mentioned that before, the whole ability to visualize all your animation and all your states, and actually, again, this is a two-way debugger. So once your animations are running in the game, you can see them in the tool as skeletons and as numbers, as frames, see all the blending, see actually what is going on under the bonnet, and not having to look at the actual final result graphic and try to work out what's going on. A few more things. Intel's graphics performance analyzers, they've kindly given us, that's thrown in the bundle. File server, we'll touch that one in a minute. Font generator, we all like fonts. And the scene viewer, again, I'll be touching on that tonight. And there's more. Remote input. Nothing's harder than trying to actually develop a game on a tablet which has accelerometers and touch control without actually putting it onto the tablet first. With the system, and unfortunately I can't demonstrate this one tonight, but we have the ability to actually use your tablet as a remote control, so you can debug it and edit it in your PC environment, but using your tablet as the actual input device live over your internet connection. We touched on the Lua. Fmod is supported, all the libraries in there. As of the next release, not the current release unfortunately, Scaleform have kindly added all the Scaleform libraries for free deployment as well. So anybody who wants to use Scaleform, there's no license requirements in Havoc. So what's it going to cost? It's free. Honest. So what's the catch, you say? What's in it for me? There's no catch basically. Project Anarchy is an initiative between both myself, Havoc, and the good guys at Intel. And the idea is to get our products out to people like you. We want to get them into universities. We want young startups to be using them. We want to get a foothold onto the mobile world. And we really would like to see if we could get 10,000 people using Anarchy, all with their mad ideas and after too many nights out on the pub, doing their own thing without any control or any costs. I'd love to see what they come up with, and we'd love to actually say, that's our stuff. So, there's no catch, we just want it out there. There's no royalties, there's no clawback. If you write the next Angry Birds, become multi-millionaires, nothing, we don't get a penny for it. The only thing we do ask, and this is the only requirement, there's a splash screen at the beginning which says this is powered by Anarchy. And if you do become the next Angry Birds, multi-millionaires, we like to use some of your stuff in our PR material and say, that's our stuff. That's all we want. So about support. Obviously, if you're a normal Havoc user, you pay us lots of money and you have access to all our guys in the Dublin office who have brains pouring out their ears, and they're at the end of a phone for any problems you have. With Anarchy, you don't get that. But what you do get is an active forum community. It's growing at a rapid rate. These are users like yourselves, and you're all talking to each other and all helping each other out. There are guys from Havoc in the forums, so it's not entirely on your end. So people like myself and some other guys in the offices will be answering questions. If you find a bug, we'll certainly find it, fix it, and get it out in the next release. So you're not on your own, you will be with everybody. So the whole Anarchy community is going to be supporting each other and driving for it. There's a questions area as well as the forum, so you can ask a question directly to us, and someone from Havoc will look at that and we'll try to get an answer to at some point. And an ideas area, so you've been using it for a week and you think, oh, I don't like this, this is, wish I had this bit. Put it down. We may not give it to you, but you give us the idea, will note, and you never know, it might be in the next release. And we add courseware. The whole bundle ships with samples. There's working games, there's assets, there's courseware on the website where you can actually download courses and actually run through and basically learn how to use the system. And we've got tutorials, and this microphone is really weird. And there's videos, so you have full access to everything you need to sort of help learn yourself way through the system. Because we appreciate there's a lot in it, it's a huge bundle, it's a huge amount of content. I don't expect anybody to take the bundle and actually know every part of it, hit the road running. So again, what I want to show tonight is how you can just use part of the system and actually get somewhere with it. And GitHub. I mentioned we fix bugs. All the source code is actually hosted on GitHub as well. So whilst Anarchy only comes out in, say, 3 monthly cycle releases for updates, all bug fixes and improvements go straight into GitHub. So if you're using a version of Anarchy, you don't have to wait for the next release to get the bug fix. The bug fix will be there. You just take the effective files and GitHub, and off you go. You're working again. And where do I get it? Just go to your browser, click on link, download it. So enough of that. What I want to do tonight is basically you've downloaded your project, you want to write a game, you've got this mad idea, you just want to create a game. So someone said to you, okay, let's have a desert, let's have some nice sunlit areas, skyboxes, or more shadows. I want a big steel ball rolling around, knocking things over. I want flames, I want physics, I want just things falling apart. Oh, and you've got 30 minutes to write it in. So, if you just bear with me 1 minute, I'll just get this reset up again. The Windows. So, the V4 unit, we touched on this earlier. This is the wrapper for the whole of the V4 API and all the tools. Effectively, it's a full graphic WYSIWYG 3D world editor, but it does more than that. It handles multi-person editing, so it has per-force bindings built in. I'll show you briefly how that works. The idea that within a complex world, more than one person can edit it at the same time and use the source control to actually manage the content. It has, as you can see now, the default layout, but other layouts which I'm not going to touch on tonight, unless we'll do this in the cool bit at the end. But there's particle editors, there's shader editors, there's scripting editors, all different modes, different ways of actually using the VForge. Even if you just wanted to write shaders and not actually produce graphical content, you can use this tool, write shaders, test them, make them work, and export the shader libraries, which you can then load into your own code. So again, it's a fully flexible editing environment. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to open up a new scene. So, new scene.
You want me to bring you a mic?
Just, what I will do, if you wouldn't mind.
So you man.
Change my glasses. Okay, so I'm going to create a new scene. I'm going to call it My Game. I'll put it in the Scenes folder. And put Wizard up. So this is a mobile game. So I want mobile forward rendering. Vision Engine actually supports multiple rendering modes. Anarchy only supports forward rendering, normal, and forward rendering mobile. Mobile is optimized for mobile use. I would recommend that all the time. It's purely a legacy, the other render node. The deferred render nodes and all the X11 support that's normally in Vision is not actually included in Anarchy because it doesn't work on mobile. We don't give you anything you can't use, so it's not actually part of the ship API. I'm going to add a tone mapping post-processor. We'll look at that one later. But I'm not going to bother the time of day. But I could actually set a time of day in. I could make it so I could actually create curves that control the actual luminance and the light of my skyboxes and my ground. actual sun object can be linked so it actually moves and rotates in the sky every time of day, and it's fully automated. For this demo, I'm not going to do that. So there we go. I have a scene. Doesn't look much to it, does it? I'm going to add in a mesh, and then I'm going to set a property on it from a mesh that I found. This mesh is actually included in the Anarchy SDK. Everyone's got this to use. We'll do what we want. So we've now got a nice little world in there. I'm going to add a new folder now. I mentioned earlier about the source control. Player folder. I'll skip that in a minute. These folders, you see I've got a main layer and a player folder. I can use these to hide graphics, I can use these to disable parts of the map. But more importantly, each of these layers can be locked by an individual user. And because the actual data is stored in a source control friendly way, when you actually merge your files back in together in source control, there'll be no hiccups. You're not trying to merge binary, it's purely XML data. So multiple users can edit these. So anyway, back on the main layer. Doesn't look very nice. We did mention sky in the brief, so let's put sky in. So I already have a skybox here. Again, these assets are just found lying around the Anarchy asset set. So we'll just plot them in. Some might ask why am I doing these individually. One of the key powerful features we found is that rather than giving people the ability to have one click and load in a complete skybox, but you may not want, you notice I haven't put the bottom texture in, I don't want the bottom texture. This way, okay, it's a few more mouse clicks, but I have total control, I can change any one of those textures, I can change the order. I'm not stuck with the normal skybox texture in the traditional way. Visibility, I want everything to see this, and I'm just going to tint it a wee bit because I like purple. Okay, let's go. Still doesn't look very nice. Still not much going on with the old sunlight. So back to our shape creators. And I'm going to put in a directional light, and I'm going to put a sunlight object in. And the sunlight object I'm going to backlight. I know that doesn't sound logical, but in the real world you get more ambient reflected light. People aren't black on the back of them when they're walking into the sun. They still have a bit of light from the outside. So this allows me to have an anti-sun, as it was, shine in the reverse direction. It just helps pick the graphics up a bit. So, properties on the sun. And I know these figures because they tie in nicely to where the sun is in my skybox. I'm going to check my grid sheet. So, there's a colour from the actual light. I don't want it full on bright, so I'm going to turn it down a wee bit. And otherwise, we have a light. We'll do the same for the sunlight. Again, I know this is colours. Looking at the backlight, it's going in the opposite direction. I apologise, this is the most typing I have to do, so. Okay, so I've got lights. Still doesn't look very nice. A bit harsh. Let's put a bit fogginess in the background. Fog used to be bad because it used to be a cheat. Everybody did fog because they couldn't draw that much. We can still draw it now. It doesn't mean we should smooth things out. We have fog, we have that. And now I'm just going to calculate my lighting and all that. That's pretty okay. And we have shadows, we have light, we have a world. Good. Not much of a game though. So, it's fine. A bit slow. What I'm going to do now is let's add some objects. Let's have a bit of physics going in. So I'm going to drop an entity in the map. And from the model file, I'm just going to pop the ball in. And then we'll want it to have shadows. I want it a bit bigger than that. So now I have a ball on my scene, still not doing much. So I'm going to introduce you to habit physics. Habit physics is as simple as selecting my object, double clicking that, I now have a physics object attached. Comes with a lot of presets. We don't normally have to stick with what we're given. So if you were taking this further on and writing C++, you could actually go in there and take the class directly, modify it, write your own handling codes, handle all the manifold contact points, handle anything you want to do with it. I'll just turn tight fit shaped. Just turns off the automatic radiusing around the bottom, and there we go. So I should now have a physics object. So if I animate the game, okay, doesn't do much though. So let's add in a few more things. I'm going to put a barrel here. That's going to fall over, I know. Properties of that one, let's give it a shadow just like we did with that ball. A physics object. As heavy as that, so we'll call it 4. Excuse me. And let's just put a few more of these in. It should just clone from clone. So I'm just cloning these objects. I'll then select them all, drop to the floor, and on the floor. And hopefully now, it's going to go straight past, isn't it? Oh no. Okay, let's put some cones in. Cone object. Where's the cone object? I'll put this down here. We'll do the same. We'll get all this in, won't you? That's enough of that. Drop them to the floor. And it's going to completely miss the things. Never mind. Because we still haven't got a game. We just got all the roles now slowly. So what do we need to make of an actual playable game? So let's go back to the component system. First thing I want is a camera. Let's add a camera in. So this camera is going to follow my man around, and I just want to set up the parameters of the camera so he's not too far away. 1000. Okay. Some of you might have noticed the Xpad. I know this is not an Android device, but it makes development so much quicker. So hopefully my pad is now linked to the camera on one stick, and what I really want to do is link the other side of the stick to my ball. Now I mentioned earlier we were scripting, so if I double click on this one, I've already written the script, because I'm not going to bore you by typing out a load of code. I'll show it to you. There we are. Just two parts of the script. First section you can see up here, it's purely initializer, so it's just grabbing the rigid body components, it's setting up some forces, it's grabbing the input triggers from my pad, a bit of cleanup when I go out, and the important part, the on-think function that you see here, all I'm doing is taking my pad controls, getting a vector, putting the vector through my camera matrix and applying its force against my object. Because I attach this to the object, this gets called already. I don't have to do any more than this. I know this will work, I hope. So hit the play the game, and now we're getting somewhere. Yep, that's working. So, I want to go back to something I discussed earlier. When I was in the slideshow, I mentioned about the virtual debugger. Let's go on to one side. I'll bring this up. Now, if I just change this mode, a bit more window. I now connect up with remote. This debugger will work remotely over the Wi-Fi on a remote device. It will work locally on your own device. It will work off the tablet. It will work off anything, even work off an iOS device on a PC. So we just have to connect. If I now run the game again, switch this to the vision camera, and there you see all the mathematics that I discussed earlier now shown in a usable form. But I can play with it. Move the barrels around them. And what's really cool, I can record it. So I'll just carry on playing. Actually, I'll use my controls so you can actually see me playing the game. You'll see blue arrows in the debug, that's all the forces of the active physics objects. They can all be recorded, all the performance of the system will be recorded, all the events. So enough of that. I was playing that, if I was playing that and I saw a bug, I saw something I didn't quite understand in the physics. Let's go back in here, I'll load that file up, and I can play it, and I can scrub it, and I can look, and I can go back to any frame, I can stop in any frame, and I can zoom in, and I can have a look, and I can work out what my problem is. Very simplistic use. This is the most powerful tool we use at Havoc. Even the big studios, if they have a problem with physics, what the support guys do is say, right, record it, send us the file. So they're playing the latest Assassin's Creed or any of the new stuff I can't talk about. They record it, they send it to the support team. They don't need the source code, they don't need their graphics, they don't need their assets. They just take this file, we load it up in the viewer back in Dublin, and we can scrub through the part of their game and actually tell them what is wrong with their game and why the physics isn't working. Just from this one file. The most powerful tool you could ever use. Anyway, enough of that. as you noticed, I've been using an XPad controller. It's great for development. I got my game sort of working. I wouldn't really call it a game, but it might take me, 10 minutes? What we want to start seeing is how we actually apply this to a tablet device now. What I would like to have shown you now, and I can't do it because of problems with connections, is that I could actually remove the control from my XPad here and actually use my tablet as remote input. I've already put into the Lua script. Notice. Accelerometer input. Now, if I actually activated this remote input within my script, it would actually take the accelerometer from my device here on my desk and manipulate the game actually running within the Forge. Unfortunately, I can't do that. Just imagine I have. So my next stage is I want to put this on Android. This is all PC assets. You'll probably notice this top piece here, there's a wee pull down, it says PC DX9, because I'm running in a DX9 environment. What I want to do is create a profile for Android. So I'll lock this as well as I can, and add a profile, and I'll just go straight Android, based on all my existing settings. So I've created an Android profile, but I want all the textures to be half the size. So I've now created that, and when I pull down, I can select Android, and if I click on this, you should see difference in texture quality. There you go. So it's automatically created all the half-size textures in the background. This is an automated task. You see all green bar at the bottom says all assets up to date. That's because I did a dry run earlier and it doesn't do anymore. If I added a new asset in the system, a new texture, a new object, it goes straight into the default, and in the background all my other profile assets are auto-generated. I wouldn't say this is how you should ship a game, but certainly if you want to prototype it, if you want to quickly hit multiple targets, especially if you've got a really poor device that needs special cases, it's not just downscaling textures. You can put rules and objects, you can exclude models. You could replace one model with another on certain targets. So this way you can manipulate how you hit your targets. Certainly if you automatically downscale all your textures, any art directors will probably have you hanging from the nearest tree, because automatic downscale is never going to be as good as an artist's eye. They'll want to do that themselves. But it gets you running, it gets the game working. So, we have that. Let's add one more, show you one more file. Go back to the default layer. There's a tab here called File Serve. Now, the two file serve systems provided by Anarchy. One is built into the Vision engine, so this is the file serving from my editor. There's also a standalone one that does the exact same job. Hopefully, my tablet here, application, you build it for yourself. What it effectively is the complete wrapper for the API. It handles all the basic startup, run, exit cleanly. It's effectively an Android app that plays a scene, but the scene isn't part of the app. All that's part of the app is where to find the scene, and it's been told to find it here in the Vision. So if I just export this, export feature, export selected profiles, and fingers crossed, everything good. It should all be gone. You know, it's called, my game is called My Game. I've opened the scene viewer, which unfortunately you're not going to be able to see, but you'll see I've already done 3 now. I've got a game called My Game. If I spelled it correctly, this is going to work, and all the assets are load from my project. And if someone wants to hold that up and actually show it. That's the game I just created, running on the tablet. Unfortunately, you see a flaw in the game design, is that with the tilt mechanism, as soon as you tip it up to let people see what happens, the ball runs to the bottom. That's bad game design, but never mind. That's easily fixed, just convert the vector through 45 degrees, so your horizontal, your slope is your normal and you're fine. So, you might have noticed the ball was running really quite slow actually. It's not hadn't had that sort of oomph and firiness that we had in the original game. So, to show you the power of this, I'm going to go back to my scripting layer, and I'm just going to up my multiplier from 3 to 10. Save that. I relaunch, and I've done. Now we're going much faster and much neater. If I don't like the 10, I'll change it. It's going to take me 3 seconds to try each combination. Fast development straight from tablet. It's a bit of fun. With a full particle system built into VForge, it's incredibly powerful. I'll also say incredibly complex. It'll do everything and anything you ever want, including things you never even knew you needed. But let's just create a new particle. We'll base it on some templates. This template shipped. We don't expect anyone to use them just as they come, but we have one. So I'll select a barrel. I'm going to copy this onto the barrel. And here I'm just going to make it a child of that barrel object. Align to parent, it's now on the root. Let's just move it up. Properties, I'll tilt it upwards. Scale that up a bit. It's not very nice, is it? It's better. And something I know I want to do is I am just going to make gravity work against me so that my flames go upwards no matter what direction we're running in. Hopefully all being well. As you can see, even if I just, in the editor, there's my flames, I can still look round. That's not bad. Let's see what happens when it's actually done in the game. Yeah, that's better. A bit of life. You don't want to do that for every object. So we have a concept called a prefab. Now, I haven't touched on art, I haven't touched on 3D Max or Maya. All these objects are created in 3D Max by artists and exported using our plugin tools. They just go straight into 3D Max, 3D Maya. And I know some of that you're going, oh, we haven't got that. We have Blender as well. It's a new addition we've just added. So it's still in beta, but we have full Blender plugin support. But plugins can be created, say, both in Max and within the VForge. And what a plugin, not plugin, a prefab can be created both in Max, Maya, or in VForge. And what a prefab is basically a composition of objects. So if an artist wanted to put together like a car with a ramp on it and have the flame effect and certain properties, you can put that together and export it as a single object. The object's still editable, you can still go back into it and change its properties, but it just makes placing it in the map so much easier. So what I'm going to do now is that barrel that has the effect on it, I'm going to create a prefab. And I'm going to call it Flamer. And it's going to ask me some questions. What's really good about the prefabs, especially if you're working in a larger team, when coders and lead coders want working with artists or mappers and designers, is you can actually expose what parameters are editable in a prefab and what is not. So if you wanted to create a prefab but give the artist the ability to change a mesh or model, you can expose that purely by expose parameters, and I can then tick on here any properties of that object that I want to be editable outside of the prefab. Otherwise it's locked away and only changes when you want it to change. So I don't need that. So now when I go on Shape Create window, which was in earlier, you'll see I've now got an object called Flamer. And there he is. Put another one in. Another one. Another one. We like these. That's better. And just to prove how well the system works, flaming objects. I don't break it. And that's creating a prototype from a stupid idea to an actual device working and running in under 30 minutes. And from now on, I think we just talk about stuff and do cool things. Any questions?
Yeah, what's the minimum version of Android it's compatible with?
2.3 gingerbread, it's a native application.
Okay.
John, je pourrais traduire?
Try.
Tu peux dire que ça manque d'oiseaux, de cochons?
Second Berlin.
C'est réaliste ou...
Talking, just saying that he likes pigs, and he would like to see some pigs on the birds.
Pigs, if I had a pig model to hand, I could give you a flaming pig very, very quickly. Unfortunately, you're stuck with the barrel.
For the next one.
So it only works on Windows, Macs. What about Mac OS or Linux? Or
Shake my glasses. No, that's a fair question, and it's one we've not addressed because up until recently it's not been an issue. All our tools are written purely for Windows. This is legacy. Appreciate all our customers come from Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo World, PC development. Until the advent of iOS, really, we have no need to address Mac. We do have Mac versions, and again, the iOS will compile on your MacBook with the Xcode, but the tools don't. It is a limitation that we're well aware of, but it's, as I say, up until recently, it's not been that was ever a problem for our customers.
okay, what's the minimum requirement for Windows? Windows 8, Windows 7?
No, recommend Windows 7 upwards. You need shader model 3 in the graphics cards. Decent amount of memory, decent processor. There's no real minimum spec, just man enough. We support Visual Studio 2008, 10 and 12. I've not even touched on programming here, I've not even touched on C++. That's something I'll discuss in a minute, we'll talk about. But by and large, we support all those major platforms. We've had customers asking about Eclipse, because I know a lot of ex-Java programmers quite like Eclipse. Something we're looking at, we don't have support projects for Eclipse at the moment. It's only an IDE at the end of the day, so it shouldn't be too hard to actually create your own projects within Eclipse. Automatic generation of Eclipse projects is something that's in the R&D department.
Well, in Android, I mean, Android is moving to our Android Studio, which is IntelliJ, so
maybe even IntelliJ projects. Within our, we have system in place within Visual Studio that will actually deploy and debug directly on device. And certainly within the house, we use that all the time.
Android Studio doesn't support C++ at all. Any native will be outside of Android Studio.
which is, okay, so.
Yeah, so it doesn't really make sense to support it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we use the command line, I guess. So, I mean, yeah, okay, I guess it makes no sense. Because, yeah, okay, I see.
Again, this is legacy in that outside of the mobile products, all Habit work is done in Visual Studio on PCs. So it's a legacy issue. And we're open to ideas. If enough people want something, then we'll look at it.
How could we find the the textures, do we have to make them, or there is a bank of picture?
Okay, yes. Everything I've used tonight is actually within the Project Anarchy downloads and samples. There are a whole range of games in there, different types, written in different ways, show different areas. This Canyon, and actually the barrels, they came out of a road racing game. It's actually shipped within Project Anarchy. There's a great thing with this vision tools. Actually, you can browse assets. So this is, for example, we say textures. So these are all the textures that are actually within my project. I did a lot of cutting and pasting. I went to another project. I went, oh, that's nice. I'll have that. I'll have that. And the same for the models. Tick. So these are the models that I've actually got in my project. Again, I went into other folders, looked at them, I said, that'll do me, I'll have that. But I used this to find them. I just literally pointed B4, checked that folder, and went, yes, that's nice, and took it from there. Beyond that, then this is down to your art, however your art wants to work. Obviously, these were all generated by really in-house artists. But it's not, we have animations as well. I've not touched on animations. Animations ship. There's characters in samples for fighting characters, etc., etc. Everything that you need, we have a sample, even if it may not be everything you want. There's a sample for everything you probably need to actually generate a prototype of an idea and actually play with it.
Average of the free space you need for an application, I mean without model and texture, but is it made EV application?
Okay, yes. I'll give you an example. We have an RPG game we ship with the product written entirely in C++. There's a couple of little snippets in each level to describe the level behaviour. It's written entirely in C++. All the game logic is in a DLL plugin that runs into the VForge and then is statically linked into the APK for the device. Now, when we first built it and put it on the device, it was over 300 meg, which was like, no, that's not happening. In fact, the very first one that went into the App Store was the 300 meg one. That was a mistake. But we had to do what every developer has to do. Okay, your game runs, you've got an idea, it's working, but then go through. I mean, if you look at my models now, I've got skeletons of guys. My game doesn't involve people walking around. Right, they're out. You look at the textures, start stripping them down, take out all the stuff you don't need. Your code will be very optimal. It's all C++, it all compiles down very, very well. Again, we looked at the asset manager where I mentioned earlier where I can target different devices. So I could start reducing texture size, I could start reducing polygon counts for lower end devices. So anyway, we did all that with the RPG, and even on tablet, with the full tablet version of the RPG, we went down to 30 meg. The multi-level game, full RPG with effects, sounds, the whole thing. I haven't done sounds on this, have I? The sounds on this is as easy as actually, I just sound. I've got long glasses on here. I'm going to drag a sound in. Excuse me, my squint. Okay, I'll put a background sound in, so I want it to be a background. I want it to loop. I don't want it to start pause, so it starts immediately, you'll go, and we're running. There's no distance, it's not a 3D sound, but it's 3D, it's not 3D. So the sound could be 3D, so I could place many sounds around the scene. I could set cones, range, I could set general sort of parameters of that. So I could, for example, put 3 or 4 bits of music into this game, and as my ball moves around, it actually play different music in the game. I'm not going to do that right now. We'll do. Is my volume up? And I've done something wrong because there's no sound. certainly.
the source.
Did I leave it in 3?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was me. I thought I changed it to false. Right, there we go. There we go. So, annoying sound. Right. Sound effects, there's actually a wee bit, I'll show you on the script. I can put it in, that's the scripting profile again. I actually typed this in briefly. I'll just change the glasses. That's the trouble with old age and 35 years staring at dodgy monitors. Yeah, I'll comment it out here, but I could add another sound, for example, just like I did that sound, but make it a non-looping play one sound that is always paused at the start. And here in the Lua script you can see self-contact sound. So I can get an instance of Big Thump, for example, as a contact sound. And then, did I leave it in? Yes, down here. It's all commented out. I've actually put an on-collision event in here. So this links into the physics. It gets the relative velocities between two objects. I'm just checking the velocities enough, and then I'm using that to actually give me a volume layer on that contact sound, which I already carried. So once that's in there, what I get then is every time the ball hits something with enough force, I just get this big thump come through the speaker. It's not very reliable yet, but that's the idea. It's as simple as just dragging it in and link it in the Lua. Now, we were discussing earlier, this is C++, it is a C++ engine. No reason why you could just do it in Lua and leave it at that, but that's not very professional. But what's really good here is we prototype this, we get the idea, we know it works pretty well. So we could then now go back into Visual Studio, open up, actually create a plugin for VForge, and take our Lua code, turn that into a C++ class, which is now in that plugin. So I could write the control mechanism, I can make the control mechanism much slicker, I do much more control with the vector maths. The camera, I just dragged in a default standard player camera. I've got a few controls to adjust the distances, but otherwise it's an out-of-the-box camera. I could then write my own C++ which accesses the camera object and then handles zone rules and handles its zone blending and smoothness, the way it works. Write that in. Compile that code. I've now got a plugin which I can reload back into VForge, put it in the VForge manifest so it always loads that plugin every time I open up. And then when I went to the player object, instead of adding the component of the default component, I would delete that, and then in its properties I can have a deriving class, and actually I've now reflected the classes I've written in my DLL back into my object, and my object now derives off my new classes I've just created that handle those controls, and they reference all my nice little pieces. I can put a camera object into the map and then derive that off my brand new camera object. So I'm now building components which go into the VForge, which now become components for me to build on and take further. So I'm expanding it. So it's great, I can prototype in Lua, turn it into real code, then prototype on top of that and just keep evolving. And all the stuff that's going into the VForge unit, which is now building the game up, is still a statically linkable object, which actually goes onto my tablet. So I'm using the same code, I'm not writing code twice. I could further take that more, that, for example, all these drop-downs, all these views, all these editors, they will ship with it. All the source code's there as well. So I could add my own views, I could add my own control panels, I could add my own sort of editing system. If there's something I don't like, I could actually go in there and I'll just write a new one. I'll add a new view, I'll add a new scene, I'll add a new tool. It's as simple as writing it and plugging it in. So you're not locked down into Z. No one's telling you how to do things. This is one of the key things. I was actually talking to Anthony earlier. Unlike other systems, we don't tell you how to use Anarchy. I'm not here telling you how to use it, what the workflow is, how things are supposed to be made. This is just one way of doing things. This is a really quick way of prototyping. How you work, how you use the tools, how you get the most out of it is entirely down to you. That is your game, it is your product, and the tools are there to help you, and they're not there to tell you what to do or how to do it. So total flexibility, total control, It's your product, it's your game.
We prefer on model extensions are Anarchy extensions or standard extensions. For example, can we make maps with Photoshop and then convert it to use it in Anarchy project, or there is Anarchy tools to make that?
No, the tools, all of our tools are plugins which plug into like Max, Maya, and say Blender now. We have conversions. Habit content tools, I haven't mentioned that, they're just part of a normal tool pipeline. But they work with all aspects of other 3D or 2D environments that we work with. So, if you mentioned, for example, terrain, are you thinking about height map terrains? Or, height map terrains is supported. It's not supported very well on device because there's a technical limitation, but we could actually, within here you can actually create height maps and you can actually turn a texture into a height map field.
With Anarchy?
Yes. In this example, I've just taken a preform mesh that an artist created. I could have gone for flat terrain and deformed it and drawn it up or down and actually had full height map systems. It's an area to be very, very careful of. It's supported fully, but the mobile devices don't like it. It's very, very intensive. We have a system within Anarchy that will take a height map terrain, bake it out, and subdivide it into sections. So now we have a subdivided mesh, and those mesh areas are then streamed in and out dynamically as you progress around your world. Because if you actually use the height map system as it's used in console systems, you wouldn't have memory or processing there for anything else. That would take all your resources. So this is a compromise, but the editing system is the same as is used in the consoles. It's just how we actually put it on device changes.
You have a couple of completed games that you can just take and play around, modify. What are they, and are they included in the SDK, or do you need to
No, it's all included. The samples actually come as a separate install. I mean, it's included when you download it, but to keep the download small, we have the SDK as one download and the samples as another, but it's just split it into two. Let me see if my machine's set up. So I've got recent projects in here. Recent projects. I mean, here's the RPG. Let's not save anything. No. It's not going to let me forget I've changed something, is it? This is the RPG game that ships. There's actually 3 projects in here. They're all usable, they're all playable. Quite big. Very big, actually. And this shows how the artist split the whole thing up inside in folders. So there you go. So I'll go straight to play the game. And this is an example of how the whole game is written into a plugin. So we've actually put the whole game into the editor. Something a bit slow. I've got some animations missing, that's what slowness is. But if you choose a full example of the lighting, effects, they're all behaviour characters. I mentioned very early in the animation studio, the behaviour in the scenes. All the characters there are running behaviour scripts, so how they work and how they integrate is actually done entirely in the animation tool. And then they're just dropped into the map as a single object that's self-controlled and looks after itself. So there's a wee bit of control in the C++ which tells the thing, you're going to go over there, and it can work out for itself how to do it, how to run, walk, all the blend-in foot controls. So this is one game that ships. All the source code's there, all the graphics are there. You could build this You can download everything, you can actually build this. What I'm running here is I just link straight into the download, that's what you get. I've got any quick links to another one. Here's the other end of the spectrum. This is a game written entirely in Lua. There's no C++ whatsoever in this game. It's just an example of physics and a Lua script. You want to see my mouse? That's all right. I've got a remote still on. One minute. This is an example of the remote control on the tablet, but unfortunately that, as I said, doesn't work. So I'm just going to turn that off. Fine. So I should have a mouse now. There we are, there's my mouse, and you all know the game. Not as much as I do. And you can see there's the script at the side. There's a bit of script that does a 2D projection for the mouse into the 3D world, picks the block, the bit of script applies the forces to the physics object to drag the block. Everything else is done by physics. The blocks are stacked up, they're all created as physics objects, and we just press go and let the physics world do all the work, and you just have to move the block. And that's an example of an incredibly simple game written in Lua, but very, very playable. So, two ends of the spectrum, one entirely in Lua, we have one there entirely in C++, as full plugins and full RPG. Both of these ship with the actual Anarchy, along with many others. There's an off-road 3D racing game. There's troll bowling. It's like Angry Birds in 3D where you fire a rubber troll at things. Quite fun.
Now, if I wanted to, let's say, use the camera on an Android device or NFC or something that's custom, the way to combine it, I just write it.
Sure. Yeah. If you can access the data you want, you can access the camera total control. At the lowest level, if you within C++, once you've got the camera object, you have total control, even right down to modifying the camera matrix. If you want to have a matrix level, you can put your own matrix in the camera. If you want to just do as a look at system, so you set where the camera is and where it's looking at, you can do that.
Yeah, I was thinking of the phone camera, not the...
Oh, I see. Yes. We have people got that working. I haven't seen it working, but I know people have. So I don't see a problem. Again, it's just an input. Anything the phone could do. I mean, okay, you work in C++, but you've still got full JNI interface as well to all the any of that Android aspects. And I know people have got that working. I've just not seen the results myself.
Can we apply bump mapping on CSS?
Yes.
GPU expensive for Android devices?
What, for map mapping? Or the level of detail?
Bump map.
Oh, bump mapping?
Yes.
Yes. We ship a whole load of actual shaders, a special mobile shader that libraries supplied, which we've optimized just for mobile. Bump mapping is there, everything is there. A lot of graphical interface of doing. Again, the big caveat, and it's the big caveat of all mobile, is that you can have everything you want, you just can't necessarily have it all at the same time. Even the stuff we don't ship in Anarchy, right? I'll talk about non-Anarchy products like Havoc Cloth and Havoc Destruction. They all work on Android devices. They will work on iOS, they will work on Android phones, but not very well. Okay, so I could put the demo, our fantastic troll demo that we had at GDC 2008, 2009, I can't remember now, with the troll, even his belly was cloth and it wobbled and shook, everything about him was all wobbly and clothy. That works on Android device, but it flat out, you can't have anything else. So to go back to your answer, yes, we have bump map shading. We have all support for all the environment shadings. I can't do it now. Post-processing, I was going to show that on the world. Actually, I might get running in a minute. So, for example, I could do like tinting and colouring, or make stuff black and white, or sepia, or do like. I could even do blur mapping. Blur mapping is lovely. Kills the device. Absolutely kills it. It's your choice. It's there, but you have to think, how much work is the GPU doing to do this? What could be really simple on, the DX11 system, and GL might absolutely just cripple it. It's not the fault of that Anarchy, it's not the fault of the tablet, it's just the limitation of GL2.
Is there some teams who choose your tools, Anarchy project, for 2D games?
Ooh, 2D.
Yeah, I know it's optimized for 3D. But
Yes, I don't know anybody, and I'm very loath to say, yeah, use it for 2D. I'm myself and actually another engineer, we're actually working on some 2D libraries. It can do it. I've written a context that works within the whole world, so it just becomes a 2D context that I can draw quads and sprites to. I can do shaders. It's really nice when you start bump mapping 2D sprites and doing a whole load of effects and weirdness and morphing textures in a 2D world. But there's as much work to do that than it is to actually just hit GL directly and do it yourself. We don't supply tools for 2D. We are looking at it. I know other people do as an option. But I'm not going to say, no, you can use it for 2D as out of the box. You can if you want to write your own stuff with it. In terms of tools, you'll have to write them yourselves. We have actually been playing using Shoebox for out-of-scene and very simple graphics interfaces. That's really quite straightforward. Again, it's harder to put 2D into 3D world than it is to just do 2D in the first place. If that answers your question.
Yeah.
What you can do though is actually, if you went halfway, if you're still using a 3D game, for example, imagine you wanted to model, say, an arcade, and you had arcade machines, they're all 3D models, but on the screen you're running 2D platform games, with all the Space Invaders and Pac-Man and stuff. To actually create a single texture, a rentable texture, and put a standard projection, 2D projection matrix onto it, and draw some graphics into that, and then blast that 2D texture into your 3D world as a texture then on your object. That's really straightforward to do. But in terms of a 2D game, as a full game, it's probably a lot of work that's more than you need.
Okay.
Any other question?
Do you have any book recommendations for learning Lua or?
I just go on the web.
Okay.
I'm not an expert in Lua, I have to look it up myself. 15 years of assembly and 20 years of C++, and I'm like, this is another language they're talking about. So I just go on the web and look it up. To recommend a book, no, I can't recommend a book.
Yeah, I saw that that on PC you only have DirectX. Do you have also OpenGL or not at all?
On PC,
yeah.
No. Not within Anarchy. I mean, it is OpenGL on devices.
Yeah, sure.
And I will actually make this point I did mention. All our shader language, whether you use the visual one to actually generate a shader library, and or use the editor to edit it, it's all HLSL regardless of target. Our internal compilers deal with that.
Okay.
So you work in the same shader language no matter what you're targeting. If you're only used to GL, then it's a bit, you have to learn a new shader language, but it's a cross-platform HLSL shader language. Within PC version of Anarchy, I have to stress, I mean, we supply all the tools and everything you need to develop and work in Windows, but we do not supply anything you need to publish in Windows. We only support DX9 and Anarchy version of Windows because that's all you need for developing for mobile. If you want to develop other Windows applications, now we're talking about Windows licenses as a Windows development. Anything you generate here in the Windows, it runs perfectly in my environment, but it's actually dongled to the vForge. If you gave someone an executable it generates, they won't be able to use it. Only you can run the executables you build. But it's intended so that you can actually get your game almost finished before it even hits a device. It's so much easier to debug and trap all those null pointers and all the hanging bits of memory that you can find lying around on Windows within Visual Studio than it is looking at a tablet, that black screen, trying to work out what you did wrong. So the intention of the Windows environment is for generation, fast generation, also fast debugging, fast prototyping, but not to actually ship from the Windows.
Well, I'll talk to you when you have a Linux version.
We have Linux, we just don't give that one for free.
Okay. That's a good answer.
Okay, nice. Is there any other question, or it's okay? You want to talk now? Is it okay for you, Stuart?
I'm great. I'm happy to talk.
Okay, great. So, I just would like to thank you. And